The shadow fell across Maya's lunch tray before she heard their voices. 3 older students surrounded her table in the academy courtyard, their scaled skin gleaming with the deep emerald that marked the Dracorian upper class. "Look what we have here," Zex hissed, his forked tongue flicking out. "The little human thinks she belongs at the Royal Academy." Maya kept her eyes down, gripping her sandwich tighter. The bread crumbled between her fingers. Around them, other students pretended not to notice, conversations growing louder to mask what everyone knew was coming. "I heard humans can't even breathe fire," Kira laughed, her claws extending slightly. "What's the point of having you here?" "My grades," Maya started. "Your grades?" Dex, the largest of the 3, leaned closer. His breath smelled like sulfur. "You think numbers on a screen matter? This is a Dracorian institution. You're just here because the Queen feels sorry for your pathetic species." Maya's chest tightened. The scholarship letter in her dorm room meant everything to her family. Her parents had cried when she'd been accepted. Tears of joy, of hope for a better future. "Please, I'm just trying to eat lunch." "Please," Zex mocked in a high voice. "Listen to it beg." He knocked her juice container to the ground. Purple liquid splashed across the stone tiles. Other students shifted nervously. The courtyard's usual chatter died to whispers. Maya felt dozens of eyes on her, watching, waiting. "You know what I think?" Kira stepped closer, blocking Maya's escape route. "I think you cheated on your entrance exams. Humans aren't smart enough to earn their way here." "That's not true." Maya's voice came out smaller than she'd intended. "Prove it," Dex growled. "Show us you belong here. Use your fire." "I can't." "That's right, you can't." Zex's claw traced the edge of Maya's tray. "Because you're not one of us. You're prey pretending to be predator." High above, perched on the Academy's ancient towers, shapes moved in the shadow of the stone gargoyles. Golden eyes tracked every movement in the courtyard below. Wings, larger than any Dracorian student possessed, remained perfectly still. Maya tried to stand, but Kira's hand slammed down on her shoulder. "We're not finished. You want to know what I really think?" Zex leaned so close his spines brushed Maya's arm. "I think the Queen made a mistake letting humans into our school. I think you're going to fail anyway, so we're just speeding up the process." He grabbed Maya's lunch tray and dumped the contents across her lap. Food scattered across the stones. Her sandwich landed in the spilled juice. "Oops," Zex said with mock innocence. Maya's hands clenched into fists. 6 months of this treatment. 6 months of hiding, of taking the long way to classes, of eating alone. Her parents' proud faces flashed through her mind. All their sacrifices to get her here. "Pick it up," Dex commanded. "What?" "Pick up your mess, human." The courtyard fell silent. Even the wind seemed to pause. In the towers above, the shadows grew deeper. Ancient stones seemed to pulse with a rhythm like a massive heartbeat. Maya looked at the scattered food, then at the 3 Dracorians towering over her. Her scholarship handbook was clear about fighting. Immediate expulsion. But crawling on her hands and knees in front of the entire academy felt worse than leaving. I said, "Pick it up." Maya slowly pushed back from the table. She could hear her own pulse in her ears. The stone beneath her knees was cold and rough. Her fingers touched the soggy bread. That's when she heard it. A sound like distant thunder, but the sky was clear. The other students looked around in confusion. The 3 bullies paused, their enhanced hearing picking up frequencies Maya couldn't detect. The thunder grew closer. Not thunder wingbeats, massive wingbeats. The shadows on the towers shifted. What the students had mistaken for gargoyles began to move. Wings unfurled with spans that blocked out sections of sky. Eyes like molten gold fixed on the courtyard below. "Oh gods," someone whispered. "Real dragons." Not the evolved humanoid Dracorians who attended the academy, but their ancient cousins, beings of legend who served only one master in the entire galaxy. The Queen. Maya remained frozen on her knees, soggy bread in her palm, as the first dragon dropped from the tower with impossible grace for something so massive. It landed 50 feet away, but the impact shook the ground. Its eyes found hers across the courtyard. Then it smiled. The other dragons followed, landing in a perfect circle around the courtyard. Students pressed themselves against the walls. Some of the younger ones were crying, but the dragons weren't looking at them. They were looking at Maya. And in that moment, as wind from their wings scattered her ruined lunch across the ancient stones, Maya realized that everything she thought she knew about her place in this academy, about her place in the universe, was about to change forever. The largest dragon, its scales dark as midnight, tilted its massive head and spoke in a voice like controlled avalanche. "Little sister." Maya's vision tunneled. The bread fell from her nerveless fingers. "Sister?" The word echoed in her mind as impossible understanding began to dawn. Around the courtyard, Dracorian students pressed themselves against the walls in terror, but Maya felt no fear as the Midnight Dragon's golden eyes met hers. Only recognition. "Stand up, child," the dragon continued, its voice carrying absolute authority. "Queens do not kneel for bullies." The words hit the courtyard like physical blows. Several students gasped. Zex, Kira, and Dex had gone completely still, their faces cycling through confusion, disbelief, and growing horror. Maya slowly rose to her feet. Her legs felt unsteady, but strength flowed into her with each breath. The dragon's words echoed. "Queens do not kneel." "Impossible," Zex whispered. "She's human." The Midnight Dragon's laugh was like controlled thunder. "Human? Child, look at her." Really look. Maya felt heat building in her chest, not the frantic heat of panic, but something deeper, something that had always been there, waiting. Her skin began to warm, and for the first time in her life, she understood why she'd never felt cold in winter, why bright lights never hurt her eyes. The bloodline was thought lost. Another dragon spoke, this one with scales like burnished copper. "Hidden among humans for protection. We have watched. We have waited." "Waited for what?" Maya's voice came out stronger than she'd ever heard it. "For you to need us," the Midnight Dragon replied simply. For the moment when pretending to be powerless was no longer possible. The heat in Maya's chest spread through her arms. Her fingertips tingled. Around the courtyard, students backed further away, but Maya barely noticed them now. "I don't understand." "Your human parents love you," the Copper Dragon said gently. "They raised you with kindness and courage, but they are not your birth parents, little sister. You were hidden among them when the assassins came for the royal nursery 17 years ago." Maya's exact age. "The Queen's daughter," someone breathed from the crowd. Maya's mind reeled. The pieces clicked together with terrible clarity. Her inexplicable acceptance to the Royal Academy, despite mediocre test scores. The way certain professors had always seemed to watch her with unusual interest. The scholarship that had appeared from nowhere. "They've been protecting me," she whispered. "All your life," the Midnight Dragon confirmed. "But protection has limits. Today, you chose dignity over safety. That choice awakened what was always inside you." The heat in Maya's chest reached a crescendo. She looked down at her hands and saw golden light emanating from her palms. Not fire, something purer, more controlled. Royal dragon fire. The rarest gift in the galaxy. Zex, Kira, and Dex were backing away now, their earlier bravado completely shattered. Around the courtyard, students whispered frantically. Some were already reaching for communication devices, ready to spread the news across the galaxy. "What happens now?" Maya asked. "Now," a new voice said, "you come home." The voice belonged to a woman stepping through the great doors of the academy. Tall, elegant, with silver hair and eyes like starlight. She wore simple clothes, but power radiated from her like heat from a forge. Queen Lyrale of the Dragon Throne, Maya's mother. The queen walked across the courtyard with measured steps. Students knelt as she passed, but her attention remained fixed on Maya. When she reached the circle of dragons, she stopped. "My daughter," she said softly. "You've grown beautiful." Maya felt tears starting. "You gave me up. I saved your life." The queen's voice carried absolute conviction. "The coup failed, but the assassins escaped. You were 3 days old. Keeping you near me would have meant your death. So you let me grow up thinking I was nobody special." You are extraordinary because of how you grew up, not despite it. The queen gestured toward the scattered lunch, toward Zex and his friends who were now trembling against the far wall. Today you chose to endure humiliation rather than fight back. You protected your place here through discipline, not power. That is why you're ready to know the truth. The Midnight Dragon rumbled approvingly. She has learned control. She will not become a tyrant. Maya looked around the courtyard, at the terrified bullies, at the odd students, at the massive dragons who had watched over her all her life without her knowledge. The weight of revelation pressed down on her, but alongside it came something else: purpose. What about my human parents? They will always be your parents, the queen said firmly. They gave you love, values, strength. Nothing changes that, but you have duties now, people who need you. The Dracorian students will treat you with the respect you've always deserved. The queen's eyes found Zex, Kira, and Dex. They flinched under her gaze. Some lessons are learned through fear when they cannot be learned through kindness. Maya felt the golden light in her palms pulse. With it came understanding, not just of what she was, but of what she could become. The lonely human girl was still there, still part of her, but no longer the whole truth. I want to finish my studies here, she said. The queen smiled. I hoped you would say that. Around them, the dragons began to settle, some curling up like massive cats, others perching on the academy's walls. They would stay, Maya realized. Her guardians were no longer hidden. Students continued to whisper and stare, but the fear was already transforming into something else. Wonder, respect, and from some of the younger ones, hope. Maya had spent months thinking she didn't belong here. Now she understood she belonged here more than anywhere else in the galaxy. There will be challenges, the queen warned. Enemies who will see your return as a threat. Political complications. Duties that will test everything you've learned about yourself. Maya looked down at her hands, now back to their normal appearance. The power was still there, waiting, controlled. For 17 years, she'd survived through invisibility. Now it was time to learn how to use the light. I'm ready, she said, and for the first time in her life, she meant it completely. The queen nodded once, then turned to address the courtyard full of students. Her voice carried easily across the space, enhanced by subtle dragon magic. Let it be known throughout the academy and beyond, Princess Maya has returned to claim her birthright. She is my heir, my daughter, and under the protection of the Dragon Guard. Any who would harm her will answer to me. A collective shiver ran through the watching students, but Maya felt only calm. The frightened girl who had knelt to pick up scattered food was gone. In her place stood someone new, someone who had learned compassion through hardship and strength through adversity, someone worthy of the title she never knew she carried. The dragons settled more comfortably around the courtyard, their presence a clear message. This was their territory now, and they would not be moved. Classes would continue, life would go on, but nothing at the Royal Academy would ever be the same. Maya walked back to her table and calmly gathered her school bag. Tomorrow she would still attend her classes, still work for her grades, still prove herself worthy through effort and dedication, but she would do it as herself, fully and completely herself, for the first time in her life. The Midnight Dragon caught her eye as she headed toward the academy doors. Where are you going, little sister? Maya smiled, feeling the warmth of dragon fire pulse gently through her veins. To call my parents, my human parents, to tell them I love them, and that everything they taught me about being strong and kind and brave was right. And then I'm going to study. I have a lot to learn about being a princess. She walked through the great doors of the academy, leaving whispers and wonder in her wake. Behind her, the dragons settled into their new roles as visible guardians, and the queen began the delicate work of reintroducing a lost heir to a galaxy that thought the royal bloodline had ended. But Maya's mind was already moving forward, planning how to balance the girl she had been with The scared human student and the dragon princess would have to learn to exist as one person. As she climbed the stairs to her dormitory, she could hear her heart beating steadily, confidently, in rhythm with the great wings that now openly guarded her path. For the first time in 17 years, Princess Maya of the Dragon Throne was exactly where she belonged. The phone call to her human parents was the hardest conversation of Maya's life. She sat on her narrow dorm bed, looking out the window at dragons perched on the academy towers like living statues, while trying to find words for the impossible. "Sweetheart, you sound different," her mother said through the communicator. Sarah Chen's voice carried the same warmth that had comforted Maya through every nightmare, every scraped knee, every moment of doubt. "Mom, I need to tell you something about who I really am." The pause stretched across light years. In the background, Maya heard her father David set down his coffee mug, the one she'd made him in pottery class when she was 12. "We know, baby," Sarah said softly. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. "What?" "We've always known." David's voice joined the call, gentle but steady. "Not the details, but we knew you were special. The people who brought you to us, they told us you needed protection, that your real family couldn't keep you safe." Maya's vision blurred. "You knew I wasn't really your daughter?" "Oh, honey." Sarah's voice broke slightly. "You are our daughter. Biology doesn't change 17 years of love. It doesn't change scraped knees we kissed better, or bedtime stories, or teaching you to ride a bike. But I'm a princess. I have duties now, responsibilities. Then we raised you right," David interrupted firmly. "Because the girl we know will use that power to help people, not hurt them." Maya wiped her eyes. Through the window, she could see the midnight dragon watching her dormitory. Golden eyes, patient and protective. "I was so scared you'd hate me for lying." "Baby, you weren't lying. You didn't know." Sarah's voice steadied. "And we weren't lying either. We just protected you until you were old enough to protect yourself. But you remember where you came from. You remember that real strength comes from kindness, not power." Maya smiled through her tears. "I love you both so much." "We love you too, Princess," Sarah said with audible pride. "Now go change the galaxy." After ending the call, Maya sat in silence for long minutes. The dormitory felt different now. Not because it had changed, but because she had. The scared girl who'd scrambled to pick up scattered food seemed like someone from another lifetime. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. She opened the door to find Professor Thane, her advanced galactic history teacher. The elderly Dracorian's usual stern expression had softened into something approaching fatherly concern. "Your Highness," he said formally, then paused. "May I speak with you as Maya, my student?" She gestured him inside. "Of course, Professor. I have taught at this academy for 40 years, he began, settling carefully into her desk chair. "I have seen entitled young nobles coast on their bloodlines, and I have seen commoners work themselves to exhaustion trying to prove their worth." Maya waited, unsure where this was leading. "You, child, have always been different. Your essays showed insight beyond your years. Your questions in class revealed a mind that naturally grasped complex political nuances. I wondered. You suspected? I hoped." His reptilian features creased into what might have been a smile. "The galaxy needs leaders who understand struggle, who have learned empathy through experience. You have been shaped by adversity into exactly the kind of ruler we need. I don't feel ready." "Good," Professor Thane said firmly. "The moment you feel completely ready to wield absolute power is the moment you become dangerous. Uncertainty keeps you humble. Humility keeps you human." After he left, Maya walked to her window. The academy courtyard buzzed with unusual activity. Students clustered in groups, voices carrying upward in excited whispers. Some pointed toward her dormitory, others toward the dragons. Everything had changed, but somehow she felt more like herself than ever before. The next morning brought new challenges. Maya woke to find the hallway outside her room lined with students, some curious, some seeking favors, others simply wanting to see a real princess. She dressed in her normal academy uniform and brushed her hair into its usual simple ponytail. In the mirror, she looked exactly the same as always, but the reflection carried new weight. Walking to breakfast became a parade. Students whispered and pointed. Some bowed awkwardly. Others stared with open fascination. Maya kept her spine straight and her pace steady, remembering 17 years of her human parents' lessons about dignity under pressure. The dining hall fell silent when she entered. Hundreds of eyes tracked her movement toward the food line. She could feel the weight of their attention like a physical pressure. "Morning, Maya," called Jess, her study partner from applied physics. The greeting carried forced normalcy, but genuine friendship underneath. "Morning, Jess." Maya smiled gratefully as she joined the shorter girl in line. "Did you finish the orbital mechanics assignment? Are we really talking about homework?"
Jess whispered,
"You're actual royalty." "I'm still failing advanced thermodynamics," Maya pointed out. "Being a princess doesn't make quantum equations any easier." Their conversation gradually drew other students into normal interactions. By the time Maya sat down with her breakfast tray, a small group had gathered around her usual table, not to gawk, but to continue the academic discussions they'd always shared. It felt like the first normal moment since yesterday's revelation. That illusion shattered when Zex, Kira, and Dex approached. The dining hall quieted again. Students at nearby tables turned to watch. Maya felt her newfound friends tense beside her. The three bullies looked different, smaller somehow, their earlier arrogance replaced by nervous energy. Zex cleared his throat, awkwardly. "Your Highness," he began formally. "Maya," she corrected quietly. "My name is Maya. Maya." He struggled visibly with what he wanted to say. We wanted to apologize." Maya studied their faces. Fear motivated this apology, not genuine remorse, but fear could be the beginning of wisdom, if properly channeled. "For what, specifically?" "For treating you badly," Kira said quickly. "For not showing proper respect." "You treated me badly because you thought I was powerless," Maya said carefully. "Now you're apologizing because you know I'm not. What does that tell you about your character?" The three exchanged uncomfortable glances. Around the dining hall, students leaned forward to catch every word. "We were wrong," Dex mumbled. "About what?" About treating anyone that way. Better." Maya felt a flicker of hope that this might become a teaching moment rather than just political theater. "Everyone deserves basic dignity," she said clearly, her voice carrying across the quiet dining hall. "Not because of their bloodline or their power, but because they're people. That's not a lesson about respecting royalty. It's a lesson about being decent." She stood slowly. The movement felt significant in the hushed space. "I forgive you," she said simply, "but apologizing to me isn't enough. You've bullied other students too. Students who don't have dragon guardians. They deserve apologies more than I do." The three nodded rapidly, relief evident on their faces. As they hurried away to begin making amends throughout the dining hall, Maya felt a warm sense of satisfaction. Her first real decision as a known princess, and she'd chosen teaching over punishment. "That was well done," a familiar voice said behind her. Maya turned to find Queen Lyralee approaching, flanked by two members of the royal guard. The queen had changed from yesterday's simple clothes into formal regalia, flowing robes that seemed to contain starlight, a circlet that caught and held the room's light. Every student in the dining hall immediately rose and bowed. Maya started to curtsy, then caught herself. She was family now, not a subject. "Your Majesty," she said instead. "Mother," the queen corrected gently. At least in private moments, the word felt strange on Maya's tongue. For 17 years, Mother had meant Sarah Chen, with her calloused hands and infinite patience. This elegant, powerful woman represented something different entirely. "I came to invite you to lunch," the queen continued. "It's time you learned about your inheritance. Not just the throne, but the responsibilities that come with it." Maya looked around the dining hall, at her friends, at the students still watching with fascination, at the ordinary academy life she'd worked so hard to build. "Will I be able to stay here? To finish my education? If that's what you choose. But your education will expand now to include subjects they don't teach here. Statecraft, diplomatic protocol, the true history of the galaxy." Maya nodded slowly. Change was coming whether she was ready or not. The only choice was how to meet it. "I'll come to lunch," she said. "But I have advanced thermodynamics at 1400 hours. I'm not missing it just because I found out I'm a princess." The queen's smile was radiant, spoken like a true daughter of the dragon throne. As they walked from the dining hall together, Maya felt the weight of countless eyes upon them, but she also felt something else. The steady presence of the dragons overhead, the quiet strength of her human upbringing, and the growing certainty that she could handle whatever came next. The scared girl who'd knelt to pick up scattered food was gone forever. But the lessons that girl had learned about resilience, about kindness, about the value of genuine connections would guide the woman who would someday rule the galaxy. Maya kept her spine straight and her head high as she walked toward her destiny, carrying the best of both her worlds within her.